Welcome to the Ecommerce Alley podcast, where we believe that great brands are built on passionate leadership, smart operations, and of course, powerful marketing. Now, I am your host, Josh Coffey, and in today's episode, it's gonna be a little bit different because I have in person with me the legendary Chris Woods. Now, Chris has actually been the creative director of the Ecommerce Alley for nearly 7 years. And so I'm really excited because this is gonna be a little bit different of an episode. I wanna get behind the scenes and really introduce you to the people that make all of this happen. So with that said, Chris, man, I'm glad you're here.
It's so good to be here, Josh.
Yeah.
It's so good. So in here in person, we've been working together for so many years. Like, I'm in Canada. We don't get together that often, so this is just a great opportunity. So.
Yeah. Well, so the reason we're filming this is long overdue for sure.
Yeah.
But Chris is where are you out of in Canada?
Just outside of Ottawa.
So Chris is like 8 hours. We're in Ohio,
yeah.
And Chris is like 8 hours north of us. And we haven't actually seen each other since
the border's been closed for 2 years. So.
It's been when was the last time we saw each other? Like was that 2017 or 2019?
2019. Yeah.
Okay, and that was on our team trip to Gatlinburg,
that's right.
Tennessee,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy.
It's crazy.
To think.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That is crazy. So Chris has been down here all week. It's been amazing. Unfortunately, he leaves tomorrow. So we wish he would stay longer, but he needs to come down more.
Yeah.
But he's here, so we want to talk a little bit about who Chris is, his role, and we're going to talk a little bit about some design aspects and kind of the journey we've come through here, just so you can kind of get an idea, because all of what we've done here hasn't just happened. You know, it's been, honestly, it's due to the people behind the scenes, and I couldn't have more gratitude than I truly do for people like Chris, for people like Dylan, for Maya, for Andy, for all the people in our team that really make this stuff happen. Yeah. So why don't we go ahead? Let's start with you, Chris. I'd like to hear like your origin story, because you have been in this industry for a pretty long time before working with us.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about where you started and how that got to this point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think of myself still as like a young designer, but really, like, I've been around the industry for quite a while now. I guess you could say like it actually started 25 years ago in high school. Like early days of the internet, like just dabbling like in some stuff then. And then, I ended up in college, degree in interactive multimedia. I was a web designer, project manager with another agency in Ottawa. So I've just been around the industry for quite a while now. So.
And so you started in design. So you started in design.
Yeah.
Moved to project management, and then web development, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And then I know when you came on with us, you were doing web development, and then you switched back to design. So like, what was the shift? I'm curious. Like, so you started as from design going to development. Like those are two different people in my opinion.
Yeah,
from my experience.
I am one of these very unique people in the industry. They call us unicorns sometimes.
That's what we call you.
We do both. We do code, we do design. Like, I obviously started as a designer, but I had a side passion for coding. So I just kind of got my feet wet in that and found out I was really good at that. So I was in that role for a long time, and then just needs changed and I circled back to design. So it's really come full circle, which has been great. So.
Yeah. So when, and actually, so what's crazy is, so Chris is up in Canada.
Yeah.
And we have an office in Ohio. We also have Maya, our business partner, in Montenegro, and we in Podgorica, which is on the Mediterranean, kind of across from Italy, and it's beautiful. And so we have an office there, and we have some people there. But everyone always asks me, like, well, how did you get connected with these people? And so I'm curious from your perspective,
Josh,
like the story.
Let me tell the story. This is a story of chance connection, just random, like, you wouldn't believe how we got connected. So when I worked in Ottawa, I always did a bit of freelance work on the side. So I had a working relationship with this lady, Ashley, who would ultimately become the first creative director here at Flight Media. So I'd worked with her for 5 years. We'd just done a whole bunch of side projects. And she's like, I want you on my team. I want you to join Flight Media. So I remember that. Like, I had a call with you and Ashley, and I was sold, like, right away. Like, it's getting from the ground up, like, let's get involved and stuff. So that's really when I joined the team. And you and Ashley had even met on Twitter, like, which is a strange coincidence. Like, how does somebody from Ohio meet somebody in Canada on Twitter. So yeah, it's just a really random circumstance how we all got connected.
And this was back,
It's been great.
It is. I met Ashley, I think it was like 2014, and you came along actually it didn't feel like too long after, like 2015, I think you mentioned.
Yeah.
So you kind of came along, like what was it that kind of drew you to say like, I'm going to leap to this other company? Because before were you in person with that company?
Yeah, I was in person. Yeah, it was an in-person office. I had sort of reached my ceiling with that role. There wasn't room to grow in the company. Yeah, it was just time for a change sort of thing. And I wanted to get in on the ground up from something. And you guys had just started the business, and it was an exciting opportunity. So.
Yeah. It's funny because we were just talking before we hopped on here. 2015, you might have said like, it sounded like we wanted to get from the ground up. And then for many years after, it felt like we were still on the ground.
For a while, but we found our footing. So yeah, it's been an interesting time.
It has been interesting. So you come on. Chris starts as our lead developer. Like you're doing all this development. We're doing web design for all kinds of different brands. And Ash is leading the design on it. Incredible designer. And just real quick note on Ashley. Ashley has her own business where she does this, and her designs are just off the walls. Like she's so freaking talented. Yeah. And you were the developer.
We did some wild projects.
We did some crazy projects.
Crazy. Like just industries across the board, you name it. Like, yeah, just crazy, like complex projects. Like one of the biggest ones, we did a site on garage doors. So yeah, it was quite interesting. So
garage door company. They wanted this custom built. I mean, it took us forever. That was a nightmare.
Yeah, but it was interesting. It was an interesting project to be involved with. So.
It was, other than like how much money we lost. But so you start as a developer. And then Ashley ends up going and doing her own business, which, hey, good for her. Yep. One thing here is when people leave, and by the way, you might have mentioned, Chris, say Flight Media. So we have Flight Media has been our agency for 9 years, and that's our original brand. And we have rebranded and we're in the process of transitioning to what we call the Ecommerce Alley. And so Chris comes into Flight Media, which is our agency. And he comes in as a developer. Our team starts, our design department, everyone starts to grow. Ashley leaves. And when people leave, we actually throw parties. We're not one of those companies that says someone's leaving, like today's your last day. See ya. It's more like, oh my gosh, that sucks. We're so sorry. We wish you weren't leaving. Let's throw a going away party. And so Ashley leaves, and then we're kind of stuck in this place where we get to a point where we need someone to fill this role, and Chris is, like he said, a unicorn. He's not just saying that about himself. He says that we call him that. Like we used to call Chris is the unicorn because he could do both. Yeah. And so you just naturally shifted into that role of creative director, but you still had your foot in development.
That's right.
And at one point we were even outsourcing development, and you're project managing that. So like, what was was there a challenge, or if so, like what did that look like going from development to creative director?
Yeah, for sure there was a challenge. I'd been out of it for so long, like just to be honest, like I had been completely out of the design space for years. So things had changed in that time. Like obviously staple tools like Photoshop and Illustrator, those are still around, but we didn't have Canva. Like that's another tool as an example. We didn't have Canva back in the day. And we could have saved, I could have saved so much time, like if I had been doing it like 5 years ago with tools like that, just to rapidly produce ad graphics, banners, like email graphics, all that sort of stuff. So yeah. Just getting your feet wet. It was a big change.
Yeah, it definitely was. It definitely was a shift, because I remember the first designs you did to now are like light years apart, and I say that most loving way possible.
I know. Yeah.
So you come in, you start doing design, you're project managing all this stuff, and so now you're full in. Like we do development for few specific clients that are near and dear to our heart outside of our own stuff. So now you're pretty heavy in the creative side. So in that creative role right now, I'm curious, like what are some of the greatest challenges that you're experiencing right now? And what are you doing to kind of tackle those things?
Oh my gosh, this is not specific to us. I mean, we've been preaching this to clients like over the years and stuff. Greatest challenge is imagery. Like, I can't say enough, you need real photography. Like, whatever, and we're guilty of this too, like just not having enough actual photos around. So that's the biggest challenge right now, good imagery to use, and your own imagery, so it doesn't look stocky. So.
All right, Dylan, we need to take some photos because we're real bad at this. It is kind of funny because we launched so many ad campaigns, and Chris is always
Oh, I know. I'm always searching around for graphics, and we're struggling with this ourselves right now, but we're gonna get better. Like pulling stills from videos, like I'm doing that. Scouring social media for things to use. Like you got to get creative to be creative sometimes.
Well, and the funny thing is, like, our ads are working.
They
so
are.
just imagine how much better they would do if we actually put more time in than we probably should do.
So anybody out there, yes, please like invest in photography. It'll pay for itself.
So in reality, I should start doing these podcasts so that way I can get I can get performance feedback from our team on what we should be doing better.
That's one way to look at it.
Okay. No, more. We need more photos. Well, we have great video though, so I'm going to give props to Dylan.
Yes.
We have good video. We just need more photos. It sounds like.
That's right. Yeah.
All right. So as far as like your experience here, let's dive into something like fun. Like, so what do you think is like one of the most painful memories that you have
Here?
Yeah. I'm curious.
For sure, and it's not unique to our business. The whole COVID pandemic we've all just been through. Like we went through some tough times as an agency during that. We had to let people go, cut hours. Like it was just difficult. It was a difficult period. So that was a tough, and I mean, it was hard as the business owner, founder. Like that was hard on you, and it was hard on the team too. So I'm glad it's kind of passing, and we're moving beyond that. So it was just a hard time for the business. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man, I don't even want to think about it.
But I mean, we're not unique. Everybody suffered through it, so we're still here. So yeah, that's the good thing.
Man, yeah, that was a definitely everyone. Like you said, it's not unique. Everyone has experienced that. That was a rough time. We actually ended up losing. Anyone listening, this is kind of fun, knowledge here. Like we ended up losing like half our staff, almost like 5 of 12 people.
Yeah.
COVID hit us really, really bad.
Yeah.
And one thing I would just say is like, what I am so grateful for is the people that stuck through in the moments where we were cutting hours and we had to, I don't even like to think about the stuff that we had to do. It just sucked. We're taking pickets. We're doing all these things in all these moments. And yeah, COVID was bad. We definitely had some other.
Through it though. I remember at the time you had mentioned, I don't know, what was somebody you followed or a contact or something that was heavily involved in like hotel marketing and that sort of stuff. And like their whole business was wiped out basically by the pandemic. So yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, definitely looking at that glass half full because we didn't get it that bad.
No, that's for sure.
And actually, what's interesting is it prompted us. That was kind of a huge transitional phase for us because we started going even deeper into e-commerce. We worked with a lot of SaaS companies. We did a lot of SaaS, software as a service, and then it really kind of forced us to plunge more into e-commerce because we're like, hey, this is digital, and we also love it. Like e-com was always more fun, and that really pushed us heavy, hardcore into going all in to the point where we are now. And so
I think that's one of the greatest things that came out of it is finding sort of our focus. Because we were spread across like doing stuff for all kinds of different industries. Yeah, you said SaaS and like insurance, speakers, like just the gamut of stuff. So which was interesting, but we've honed in on our niche, which is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like a ever evolving process of like refinement.
Exactly.
Really.
Exactly.
So what is a good memory you've had here?
Oh, just like getting together as a team. Like, so I've been here this week, which has been great. We had a great retreat a couple years ago in Tennessee. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to do that for a few years. So it's just these moments when we're able to get together in person. Zoom is great. Like it's been a great tool for our business, for everybody. But it can't replace like face-to-face connection. So it's really important to get together as a team, basically.
Yeah, and our team is pretty remote. It's interesting. So like, what's your perspective? I'm just curious because I'm here and we have an office and we have people here. So it's kind of like we can go to lunch and dinners and movie. We could do things like that and Christmas parties.
Yeah.
Now we obviously try to fly everybody in when we do Christmas parties, events a couple times throughout the year. The last 2, it hasn't been like that.
Yeah.
What's it like working remote?
So
as a creative director, what's that look like?
I mean, I'm an introvert. I love it personally. It's not for everybody.
Paradise.
Yeah, it is. I like quiet. I like to listen to talk radio most of the day and stuff. Like, I just really enjoy it. It's not for everybody though. I think you have to be extremely disciplined to work well from home. You got to be organized, task oriented, and you got to get up and treat it like you're going to an office every day. Like I get up, I get fully dressed. I even put on dress shoes some days when I'm at home. Just so I think if you look good and feel good, like it's going to set you up for success for the day, basically.
Yeah, and one thing about Chris is that he is always dressed super suave. We get on our meetings, and I'll be in a hoodie at our office, and Chris is in like the sweater, the button down. I'm just like, man, Chris, aren't you at home? Like, but you're right, you do. You treat it like that now that I think about it.
Yeah, it just like your whole day goes better if you're dressed well, and you're on meetings on Zoom. So why not look good? Like I have friends that do work from home as well, and they sit in their pajamas all day. And like, how do you feel productive if you're sitting on a couch in your pajamas? Like, you need to be fully dressed. You got to treat it like you're being in an office.
Yeah, I think there's, and you know, when we first started, I actually had I did have a dress code.
You did?
I don't know if I've ever told you this. So I used to have a dress code for the first few years, and then I just kind of was like, meh, and it just went downhill.
Yeah.
But I used to have a dress code, and the dress code wasn't like, oh, suit and tie. It wasn't anything like that.
No.
It was, you know, dressed like you're dressed right now.
Yeah.
Probably, I mean, I'm dressed in a tee if you're watching on YouTube, which if you're not, you need to go to alleypodcast.com/YouTube and subscribe. Plug right there. But I used to have a dress code because there is a mental component to it. Like when you dress up, you mentally feel different. And that's why a lot of companies that I know that are like super heavy, like they have their sales guys all dress up, even if they're at home selling, because like when you are dressed up, when you take care of yourself and you're not sitting in like gym shorts or like sweats in a hoodie at home, you know, you feel a lot different about yourself.
Yep.
I think the mind plays a really big role there.
Douse yourself in cologne every morning, like just feel great.
Yeah. That's all. That's awesome. So, let's dive a little bit more. Like, I want to talk about your role a little bit. Why don't you like explain like what does a day kind of look like? Like, what are the kind of items that you're taking care of at the Ecommerce Alley?
Oh gosh, it really runs the gamut. Like I spend a lot of time doing ad creatives. That's a big part right now. Helping with emails, just sort of any sort of graphical support that you guys would need. And I also still do some client-facing work as well. So just helping with newsletters and website updates, and it's really a broad spectrum of work I do throughout the day.
So like when you're designing, like let's talk ads, because you know I love ads.
Yep.
So I love ads. Ads are just the best thing ever. So in the ad process, like your task, I think in the next week, you have to build 50 creatives for our rapid experimentation campaign we're running right now. Based on Matt Harward's advice, we're doing a rapid experimentation, which is pretty cool. So you're tasked with building 50 creatives in the next, probably in the next like 3-4 days. So by next week, we're launching that campaign. So that's a lot of creatives to most people. Like listening right now, most people are probably running campaigns with like 3, 4, 5 images or whatever. Like what's your process to, like, if I said we need 50 creatives, which I'm telling you because you obviously know that we do in the next week. What does that look like? Like, what's your process for doing that?
So as I said earlier, I'm scouring around for images at the moment. Like that's a big thing. But also look at research. Look at what other people are doing in the Facebook ad library. There's things you can subscribe to for inspiration, like getads.co or getads.com. Just look at different sources for inspiration, whatever you can pull basically and leverage to build those assets. So,
I think that's one of the like the main things that I think people ignore. Like, you don't have to reinvent everything from scratch. Like you can go look at what you already have, but then also go use like the Facebook ads library, which is another I assume you use that when you're doing research too.
Yep, absolutely.
So like you can look at the Facebook ads library, get ideas. There is, if you go to getads.co, they have a service where they actually do the design for you, but they also have a private community. I think it's like $5 or $10 a month called Ad School. And they go do all the research for you. And then every week you get a
newsletter with it. Which is great.
You get a report for $5 or $10 a month. Lewis and his team do an incredible job. They break it down. They find different creatives. They say why they like them, the psychology behind it, the design elements they really like in it, and it gives you that inspiration. And I think that's, if
you're on a team like ours, it also helps if people see things and share them. Like we use Slack as an internal tool, and we share stuff through there that we see and come across, and all of it helps. Like if there's other people that can share stuff with you for inspiration, use it. Use it.
So we also do within like for our clients and even with some of our like coaching clients as well, we often consult or give advice on website stuff, like for conversion rate optimization and improving websites. So I'm curious from you, what are like cringeworthy things that you see? Because we look at a lot of websites.
Yeah.
We have a lot of feedback. So like, what are some cringeworthy website pieces that
I'm
you
not
see
gonna
in
call
design?
like I mean just this
Without
week.
names.
Yeah, without names, without calling anything out. Just this week, for instance, like something I was looking at. One of the things like just had fonts, like script fonts. They look great, like as sort of a design accent, but maybe don't use them in like call to action text. Like if they're hard to read, not totally legible, don't use that. Another one I saw this week, buy now CTA. Like a washed out gray background color. Like you want to draw emphasis to whatever you want the user to do on the site, so use stronger colors. Like pick something different from your brand colors. Yeah, just those sort of things. That's just an example I ran across this week.
Yeah, I think you know what I always used to think. Just do the minimum viable product on a website and then validate it and then really start working on the website. But we just had a client that we work with. They have a beautiful website. And they also have so we have on the website we have a lot of scarcity and urgency elements. So we have like actual real scarcity on certain products. We have a weekly savings list of products. So it shows how many are remaining and how many were sold. And then it also has countdowns on all of them to say like, hey, how much time you have left each week to take advantage of this deal. So we're constantly rotating products. So we're constantly getting like this urgency. We're getting the scarcity factor. And we had, for some reason, Shopify didn't like the JavaScript or whatever.
They did some sort of upgrade. Yeah.
There's a theme upgrade and the scarcity and urgency factors were gone. The countdown timers, the scarcity, how many were left, are gone. And as soon as that happened, our return on ad spend, and we track with a tool called Hyros, it's very, very accurate. Our return on ad spend on big campaigns tanked from like 3.75 to 4x return on ad spend to like 1.69, 1.89, like really, really low. And so it's crazy to me because at one point I was like, just get the website out there. But now that we've been doing
you got to pay attention to all the details. Yeah, it's important. Yeah.
This whole time I've just been going against like the grain and now I'm realizing like just little elements like that plummet results. Actually, another one too. We 2 weeks prior to that, same client changed their banner on their homepage, and we had a lot of traffic going to their homepage from a certain campaign. And that cut the ROAS in half from like 4 again down to like 2. And we need a 3 or higher is what we really want to really grow and scale. And so like cut it in half. And on Monday our team was like, what happened? And they're like, well, we just changed this banner on Friday night. And we're like, that screwed everything for the whole weekend. And we shifted it back. And that day, return on ad spend
gonna have a direct result. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's pretty crazy how impactful that stuff is. Man,
if you're using tools like heat mapping software like Hotjar, like look at that. That's going to tell you a story as well. Like just use all the analytic tools you have, Google your ads data, whatever. Just use it all to make good choices. So,
yeah. Wow. So I guess my final question for you would be this. So like, we have a Chris in our midst. So like we are like, hey, we need this, or
you're lucky.
We need. Oh, I know, right? So not everybody has you to where we're like, oh, also Chris, can you go ahead and install Google Tag Manager and set all this up and install this code and go adjust this, code. I don't even know what I'm saying here. Go adjust this. So we don't all have a Chris. So a Chris in the midst. So if we don't all have a Chris in our midst, like what do you tell people, or what's your advice to somebody that is like, hey, I do all of this stuff. I do the creative. I do the website. I do all of this stuff. Like what advice do you have to someone like that in that position?
Use tools. Don't do things from scratch. As I said earlier, like we use Canva. Use it. It's a great tool. There's great templates in there. That's one tool example. If you're on Shopify, WordPress, that sort of stuff, use page builders. There's great ones, Elementor, Gem Pages, Shogun. Like there's tons of great tools out there. So take advantage of them. That would be my number one recommendation. Take advantage.
Yeah. I think Canva is definitely one that
huge.
On the ad front, I mean, if you're not using Canva, it's so easy and it's so cheap. I think it's like $13 a month or 15 or something. Something like
back in the day, like we used to do all this stuff from scratch in Photoshop, and it's time. Like if you're trying to mass create stuff, it's just too time consuming. Like leverage these tools.
And you guys are hearing this from someone that can work Photoshop and Illustrator, right?
Yeah.
So like I think that there's this whole like stigma around like, oh, like, are you a designer if you're using Canva? And it's like, you can actually make some incredible designs in Canva by pulling in and
Those
uploading elements.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that Canva is one that you mentioned that sticks out to me. Another one too, a page builder.
Yeah.
Most people are like, oh, I really want to have this and this and this on my product page or my collection page or whatever it is. And they're like, but I don't know how to work Shopify. And it's like, you don't have to.
Yeah. Shopify itself is actually, it's not that friendly. So
yeah, Shopify sucks. It really.
I mean, it's good for like the order management and that, but in terms of like building nice looking pages and stuff, you need a page builder. So definitely look at Shogun, look at Gem Pages. They're cheap. They're $30-$40 a month. Like, well worth it. So,
yeah. You'll save yourself at least that much in
headache
therapy costs.
Yeah, exactly.
What's an app marketplace plugin that you would recommend somebody get to really make their store better? You just mentioned Shogun. I know that's
Shogun's one. I'm just trying to think. Like there's all kinds of bundling tools and stuff we get clients to use. Zipify, one-click upsell. That's one. We've got a client using it. We just installed it on their site maybe a week ago. We made a couple $1,000 off of it just from installing it, doing one upsell offer. So yeah. Look at this.
Simple. I think it was
simple things. Took maybe half an hour to set up, and it's $2,000 extra in revenue. So
yeah, and that's only in like 2 weeks, 10 days or something. It wasn't even a crazy amount of time.
Yeah.
With one, and then I think you just rolled out like 9 more.
I did the other day. So, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And you know, when I think of like landing page, and this is probably, I don't know if this is getting me off in a rabbit trail, but when I think of like landing pages, when I think of things like that in your website, like those are things that are small levers that you can pull that create big impact. You know, like if you're running ads and forgive me, I always come back to ads. So I'm always like, okay, if I'm running this kind of return on ad spend, or this is the revenue I'm producing from ads, and I want to ramp that up, most people are like, oh, I'm just going to increase my ad spend.
Yeah.
But the other thing you can do is say, hey, well, rather than increase ad spend, why don't I go and make these adjustments on my site, some small tweaks, add a plugin like Bundle Bear, you know, to bundle things, or Zipify one-click upsell.
Yep.
I think that's what it is, OCU.
OCU, yeah, one-click upsell.
So you install that, and it's like, boom, you just did the same thing, but you didn't increase your ad spend. You know, instead you just make these small tweaks.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's good stuff. Yep. So if you were to leave everyone with one thing, one piece of advice you have on design, what would that be?
Again,
putting you on the spot here.
Putting me on the spot.
Putting you on the spot.
Again, just, I mean, keep it simple. And don't, like, always test and look at the results. I mean, what you think might be a good piece of creative might not resonate with your audience. Josh and I, we're learning this all the time. Like, we have our own preconceived notions about what's a good piece of creative, and the data is going to tell you the story. So just always look at the data, always test, and that's the way to go. So.
That's so true.
Yep.
And my gut is usually wrong. Is what I've learned.
Mine too.
we just ran an ad campaign with 50 different messages, 50 different headlines,
and it was the ones that we didn't think.
Ones we just threw them all together, and 2 of them, like, just outliers, killed it on the click-through rates. And you never would have guessed those. A lot of the ones that I thought would have done good were like 0.64% click-through rate. And I was like, wow, really shocked. Same thing with creatives. And we're about to find that out with another campaign here in a week.
So, I mean, don't spend tons and tons of time, like using ads as an example. Don't spend tons and tons of time, design multiple tests, like a large amount, and see what the best result is.
Cool. Well, Chris, I'm so glad you're able to hang out with me. Talk a little bit. I need to get the rest of our team on here one by one.
I know.
But hey, everybody listening, we're grateful for you at the Ecommerce Alley. We really, we truly are. The community inside our Facebook group and on YouTube is just amazing. So you have been listening, of course, to the Ecommerce Alley podcast, produced by the legendary Dylan Counts behind the scenes. Maybe sometime, I don't know if we could ever have Dylan on, because no one would know what to do behind the scenes at that control booth that he has.
Exactly.
But thank you for listening. You can find more about this podcast by going to alleypodcast.com. alleypodcast.com. And if you want to join a free Facebook group of thriving e-commerce entrepreneurs, like-minded people, where we're doing live workshops, we're doing boot camps, so many other things, go to alleypodcast.com/group. It's absolutely free and you'll be glad you did. We will see you in the next episode.